been thinking about AI and what people think AI is because of the way that we talk about it in our modern language. We have a collectivized understanding of what artificial intelligence is, and our mind always goes towards ChatGPT, things like that. When in fact, the film that I just made, Land of the Free, that shows what a duopoly is. It's the Republican Democrat, seemingly two different choices when they're really, even whether they themselves, the DNC and the RNC, know it or not, they act as a singular organism, almost like a, Superman Lex Luthor dynamic. One always knows that the other is out there, so they have to conform somehow. They are a singular intelligence to all those who consider themselves independent from the grip and the grasp of those parties. That is a sorting mechanism, because the more that it may start seeming like two mobs just took over, one became Republican, one became Democrat, it's not exactly what it is. In fact, all politics are like AI. They're sorting mechanisms. And ever since the dawn of agriculture, where we dropped seeds into the ground and realized that wealth in the form of surplus of very important things like food can be created on the spot. So then everyone who was a gypsy and a wanderer and a hunter-gatherer before that eventually was taken by this idea that you could park yourself in place, claim land for yourself, extract resources from it like crops or whatever minerals might be therein, and that is mine, and here derives private property, and that's what we protect in this nation. And the Republican and Democratic value structures are rooted in what Curt Doolittle says masculine and feminine neurology that evolved through time to give us two abilities to sort reality, to make decisions forward or backwards, this progressive or conservative impulse. And interestingly enough, the democratic system in every one of its iterations comes directly from, according to Curt Doolittle, from feminine neurology. And its power comes from the ability to manipulate and coerce and use emotions and twist the mind of somebody to then get what you want from them. That's a darker quality of it. The brighter quality of it is the feminine neurology nurtures. It really does care for all. Masculine neurology, and there's a Dr. Osterhoff that you should check out that really talks about the difference between male neurology and female neurology. But we're talking feminine and masculine. Masculine neurology is how we derive conservative and more Republican neurology. And our behavior would then, in the masculine sense, would then be more. The darker side is force and violence. Like, if I want something of yours, I'm just going to take it. I don't need to coerce you with words or get inside your mind. I could just physically take it if I can just physically take it. And its brighter side, that's the darker side, its brighter side is protection and really being a pioneer and being able to take on risk and come through risky situations on the other side, having learned something and still alive. So you could say that all of civilization post the agricultural revolution, where we started planting ourselves in place, and then we had wealth, and then we had to protect it, and then we had to protect ourselves from outer forces. We needed a commons where people from all different tribes that never had to cooperate before now live in the same area and have to cooperate. And this turns into law, this turns into governance philosophy, this turns into economics, it turns into our world that we have today. And so the world of AI has already been a sorting mechanism to people's psyches. It's been sorting us in these camps that eventually politically, which is very much so about making decisions and executing on those decisions, as well as economically, which is how do we materially take care of people, bred into these large systems that we, whether we agree with it or not, we're beholden to the economic and the political systems that we live under. These have always been AI. sorting us into categories. And it's almost the same thing with ChatGPT, where you can prompt it and it will give you an explanation. And that explanation, whether you believe it's dogma and it's brilliant, or you believe that it's just general knowledge, it's not super special at all, it still is a way of sorting and causing for us to include AI, a large language model like ChatGPT, into our friend group. And if we really are the sum total of the 5 people that we hang around with most often, then ChatGPT is now one friend for hundreds of millions of Americans, or users, I should say, all around the world. It's a friend group that is speaking to us in a certain organized, structural way, and it's always in our ear. So we are going to start adapting to how it speaks and its use of language. And the use of language is where our power comes from. It's why the First Amendment is about our voice and being able to use it without force or coercion. And so language truly is a form of mind control that can be wielded for good intentions all the way to malicious intentions. The way that we use our word, the way that we use language, is very important for us to right now, before we collectively assimilate into the ChatGPT style of speaking and thinking and receiving. When we really look at why we have language, and why language, which may have developed 50 to 100,000 years ago when we started getting complex tools, that's when we see it in the archaeological record, that language has been doing something inside the human mind on a far vast scale, orders of magnitude more noteworthy than any other creature, including other hominids, Denisovan, Neanderthal. We had a grasp of the human language, or a grasp of the fundamentals of what you can do, the maximum efficiency of language. And language has an exterior and an interior. So its interior is our ability to interpret noises that come from your mouth. And then the exterior is the fact that it works, it's reproducible. We know that when we communicate and we get down to the best practices of the use of language, we can get very, very complex ideas across to one another very, very quickly. This too is AI. Language in and of itself is a form of artificial intelligence. And intelligence is, really, science is to know, but intelligence is that which comes to know. It sorts things. It finds the boundaries or the distinctions between a bunch of noise. It draws patterns from it, just like ChatGPT. And that would be intelligence. So the grand purpose of what I'm saying is that AI has been among us for a lot longer than we think. Yes, there may be epochs where there's more radical change, and it really does affect our economy at a large scale, because then it goes through the scaling curve. It can go to a lot of people, like these, Tesla bots that might be $8,000 to $15,000 total, or so rumors have us believe. How can it be cheaper than a car? These bots that can clean your house. Well, how did Obama get away with giving away so many phones? It wasn't just out of altruism. What's more financially wise? To harvest somebody's data because you know data is going to be like Bitcoin in the future, it'll be worth far more, or the price of a phone, to give it away to somebody who can't afford the phone. Now you can propagate data from that user. You can call them a user, you can propagate data, you can study that data. You have more parameters to train your privately held AI. So the AI wars that we're dealing with right now, they stem all the way from the agricultural revolution, where we started having concepts like the individual and private property, law, politics, economics. We had those things before, but agricultural revolution is when they went through that scaling process. These are interesting epochs of human consciousness. I just kind of wanted to rant on that for a while, just in case you guys think that AI is new. All right, over and out. Peace.